So we'll start. Am I doing an introduction? I'll do an introduction, just a real brief one. My name is Brad Ward. During the day, 9 to 5, I work in commercial banking. What we do is we're a bank to businesses and organizations in the area. One of my biggest interests is a lot of interests, but is personal finance. I am a student reader of all things personal finance. I think it's one of those things where I love it because it's one of those things where sometimes you learn some key concepts and that's pretty much all you need to know. I mean, you can really get pretty in depth with everything, but if you learn a few key concepts, you really take care of 95% of what life can throw at you financially. And it's just one of those beautiful, simple topics where you take care of all the big rocks at the same time. So we'll go ahead and get started. A few points to make just before I begin is that I don't want anybody to be so frugal they can't live your life. The key is to live a happy and enjoyable life. So we just take care of a few things on the personal finance end, and then you can enjoy your life a heck of a lot better. So we're here to just go over a few of those right now. I'll have the PDF sent out after the discussion. I didn't create it. It's better than anything I would create, and it has links to all kinds of different resources. So definitely hang on to it for reference. And just a few key points of everything that we talk about today. Not everything we talk about is going to apply to everyone like right now, and that's okay. You might be in a situation where this isn't really applicable or it doesn't really make sense for the next few weeks, few months, even few years, but at some point in time it might, and it hopefully is very beneficial at that point in time. So you'll be ready for it when it is, I guess is the key takeaway there. If we talk about something that you're not doing, or it kind of gives you that feeling like, oh boy, I don't feel good about this. When you go to the dentist and they tell you to brush your teeth better and you get that feeling like, oh geez, I should really be doing a better job. Don't feel bad about it. Like, please just take the information for what it is and say, hey, maybe I can't do it right now, but I'll do it somewhere down the road. Don't let any of the information or anything we talk about intimidate you. No one's perfect. We're all trying to get a little bit better every day. And if we can do that, maybe even a little bit better each year, if we can do that, we'll make progress. And that's really the key. So I'm not perfect. I make money mistakes all the time, and it's okay. It is okay. So what I'll do is I'll pull up, I'm going to share my little presentation. Does everybody see Your Money Matters, an Adult's Guide to Personal Finance on their screen? Excellent. And if at any point you have questions, just jump in and interrupt me, and we can go down and talk about that all day long if you want to. We're going to make a hard stop at an hour too, because it's beautiful out, and I know we all have. I saw a bunch of kids running around in the background in the last meeting, so we're not going to be here to really take up too much of your time. But hopefully some of the information is valuable. All right, let's see. All right, so we'll start kind of open-ended. Participation is welcome, but it's certainly not mandatory. So if you don't want to say anything, you don't have to say anything. If you want to ask a million questions, that's fine too. But really, I think the first thing we think of is what money means to us, and it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I think some people are, as soon as the penny comes in, the penny goes out, whereas as soon as other people, the penny gets put in the closet and it stays there forever and never really want to part with it. And both are really okay as long as you're happy with it. I think for some people, it helps us meet our needs and wants, food, shelter, safety. For other people, they like buying things, and there's nothing wrong with that too. I think for myself and a lot of other people, it means security. It means that if something really, really bad happens and you're unable to earn income, you'll be okay, right? You'll still be able to hopefully feed yourself through that time. For other people, it's freedom. It's the whole thing of walking into a job maybe at 50 years old and say, I'm not working anymore because I don't have to. I wish I could say that because I'm not there yet, but it would be really nice. But for most of us, that's not really realistic. But there are things we can do to make that day. Maybe not 50, but maybe 60 or 65, or who knows. Maybe we love working in the 70s, and that's great too. So a couple questions. I'll go around the room. Anyone, just feel free to pipe in. How did you view money growing up? Does that speak to anybody?
For me, Brad, I grew up very modest, so money was always tight, and but we still made do with what we had. And my mother always saved. She used to tie her loose change in a cloth because women wear clothes back home. So
I like it.
And she was a trader, so I kind of knew about money very early and the importance of saving money that way.
Excellent. Anybody else?
I can share. I had, my parents were very different about money. So my dad still never wants to spend anything, just wants to save his money. And my mom would love to have an unlimited budget and go shopping. And so I find that even when I'm making my own decisions, sometimes I'm thinking like one, sometimes like the other. And it would have been nice if there'd been a balanced approach, and there were some arguments around it, let me say. So anyway, seen both sides of that.
Yeah. About that, did they ever talk to you? The next question, did they ever talk to you about money?
Well, my dad talked to me about the importance of saving money and saving and being prepared. So.
And your mom said, save it, and then we'll spend
it. She just spent it.
I'll jump in. My parents didn't really talk to me a whole bunch about money. I mean, they took me to the bank to open a bank account when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I put like $2 in it or whatever I had saved up. But for whatever reason, I've sought out a lot of information on personal finance. So I think some people just have this great wealth of information from their parents, and other people don't, but doesn't necessarily always mean they're going to be good with their money too. It helps to get that exposure at a young age. This is a good one. Have you ever felt richer or poorer than your friends, and how did that make you feel? Anybody?
I can chime in. I have a lot of friends who are in sales and work for big companies, and I work for state institutions. So sometimes I feel a lot poorer than them when they're talking about how much they can save and safety nets and things like that. So it's all relative.
Absolutely. Nothing worse than when your neighbor gets something nice too, right?
Right?
Yeah. It's difficult. I think people are sort of hardwired to always compare themselves to people next to them. Let's go down the list. Do you consider yourself a spender or saver? Not surprisingly, I'm a saver, but let's all chime in.
Saver.
There you go, Edgar. Good answer.
Saver.
Saver.
I think I'm both. Spender.
There you go. And what do you like to
I do both.
Go ahead. You're a hybrid. And what do you, I heard spender there. Do you have a weakness, or I just spend it on things I absolutely need? Do you have a weakness?
My husband is a savior, but I want to spend money, but not simply for important things.
Important things. Necessities. All right. And then I think the last two questions are good. We don't need to necessarily answer them out loud, but financially speaking, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Which is impossible to say, but you know, I think that's a good one to sort of reflect on. Don't obsess over it, but it's a good thing to reflect on. And the last question I think is really the most important. Are you willing to live below your means for a while in order to have something better later in life?
Absolutely.
Yes.
there's a lot of arithmetic. There's a lot of math behind. If you're willing to forego something now, you'll receive many over in the future. But if you're happy spending, who am I to be in your way to stop from being happy? So what we'll do is let's talk about spending. Best advice I've ever had when it comes to spending, wait, or as I like to say, just marinate. Let it marinate for a minute or two, right? It's so easy to click buy now, right, on Amazon. It's so easy to go online and order something and it's at the door in, you know, a shocking number of hours. And advertisers know this, and they make it really easy to go and buy things. But I think the best thing, some of the best advice I've ever had, if you're tempted to buy something that you weren't planning to buy, don't. Give yourself a couple of days. 3 days is good, even overnight, I think. Usually that urge dies off. But if it's really something you've got your heart set on and you've got your money for it, go for it, right? If it's something larger, like a car or a home, you know, that takes planning. Understand money values and priorities and stick to them. I think it's good to say, hey, these are my priorities. These are my needs. These are my wants. You can't really have everything. And then I think the third point here, forget what other people have is the most important. You might, Patty, this might be a good one for you. You might see your friends going on vacation, right? Social media is terrible. You might see someone dressed in really nice new clothing. You might see someone driving a really nice car. But that could be all financed with a credit card or money that they have to pay back at some point. So that really nice pair of shoes they bought for $100 might end up costing them $200 when they finally pay off their credit card. So
That's
just
right.
I think it's really important to know that just because somebody has something shiny or new or nice doesn't necessarily mean they own it. Sometimes the possession can own them. All right, so I know everyone hates talking about budgeting. I do too. It's kind of a math thing where the way I look at it, your budget is it's a bucket, and the bucket's either filling up with water or there's a big hole in the bucket and everything's coming out, right? And there have been plenty of points in my life, even to this day, where if I'm not really careful about balancing my needs, my wants, and the bucket's losing money, right? Or if the kids just an hour ago, a tree branch missed my kid. A huge tree branch fell off a tree in the front yard, almost hit my kid. I mean, missed him by like 10 feet. So, I mean, thank goodness something really awful didn't happen, but you know, we could have been in the hospital. We could have been, you're always going to need money for a rainy day. So I think the best thing to do with a budget is number one, know your monthly income. Look at your pay stub, figure out exactly how much it is. The second step would be list your financial responsibilities. What bills do you pay every month? What are some bills that we pay every month?
Gas, rent, internet, car insurance.
Groceries, yeah, absolutely. Clothing. So you can list those
Can
out.
I take a picture?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll send this out too, because I really think it's an excellent layout. So here's a challenge if you really want to look into it. And again, this challenge isn't to make yourself feel bad about your spending. It's just to get a better understanding of it. So if you say, I do this a bunch of times too, and I say, oh, geez, I went to Chipotle too many times.
Hi, Gwen is here.
Thanks for joining, Ms. Gwen.
I think we've got some background.
All right, thank you.
Do you mind me? Thank you. Mm-hmm.
There we go. And just for a week, still got some background noise. And just write down everything you spend for a week and just see what it is. Sometimes my strategy is to use the debit card, and then it lists everything that you've spent right then and there, and all of a sudden you realize, oh boy, I spent a lot more money on something than I need to. Step 4, categorize your spending, whether it's dining out, entertainment, clothing, household, repairs, updates, you know, something is always going to break, or groceries. And that way you can sort of list your major expenditures. and then do the math on it. Do your expenses outweigh your monthly income? And know that there are times when our expenses are definitely going to be higher than our income. And we hope that that's a temporary thing. Sometimes temporary things last a lot longer than we want them to, but this is just from a dollars and cents perspective, this is kind of how to get ahead. And then this is a good example of somebody's projected versus actual expenditures. They list out all their monthly expenses. This is a good cheat sheet of all the different things we spend money on. And you can see if you're either running a sort of a surplus or a deficit here. So I think that's a good way to graphically illustrate it. Tips. This is where we need some audience participation. If you have kids, ask them to help identify areas where you can cut back and identify savings. They get into it. They sort of like it. It makes them start to realize that mom and dad aren't money trees for at least a few minutes. And then, you know, make a goal, right? Sometimes it's, well, do you want a really nice birthday party or do you want to go on vacation? You don't always have to do both. But when everyone's on board, everyone serves as sort of a good reminder to say, hey, let's keep doing this. Talk occasionally, talk every week, talk every month, have a little budget meeting. It's fun. And this helps really raise kids' financial literacy as well. The third point here is don't forget the fun. I mean, don't be so obsessed with spending money that you forget to have fun. There are a lot of fun things you can do that don't cost any money. Let's get a couple good examples of fun things that don't cost any money. Somebody chime in.
Going to a park.
Great time of the year for it too.
Go to a free museum.
Mm-hmm.
World-class museums.
Yeah.
A library.
Libraries are great. You know, you can rent books, not just, yes, of course you can rent books from the library. Thanks, Brad. You can rent videos, you can rent DVDs, you can do all kinds of great things at the Arlington Library. You can learn anything you want to at the library. I think it's a wonderful place. What else?
Go on a walk.
It's the healthiest thing you can do, especially this time of year.
You could also tap into like the county and stuff that they offer that might be free or reduced, or on a sliding scale, however they do it in the county.
Absolutely. So I love sports. Like I grew up as a knucklehead kid, spending way too much time watching sports instead of studying. But I like hockey, right? Hockey's really expensive. You go to a Caps game, it's $100, and then you better not get hungry there because that's going to be even more expensive. But you can go to the Caps practice facility. I mean, I know with COVID right now, but hopefully within the next couple months, you can go watch Alexander Ovechkin practice for free pretty much any day of the week when they're in town. Doesn't cost a penny. You can go there. You can put your nose right on the glass like my kids do. It's wonderful entertainment. So what else? Go to a high school game, right? High school games are fantastic. Wakefield basketball I'd rather watch them than the Bullets, Wizards. Sorry. Way more exciting.
There's also free music in this area, maybe less so during COVID, but some of the museums, and they're free movies, like down in Roslyn and in other places, they're free outdoor movies. Oh, Columbia Pike has a free, or had before COVID, free movies.
These are wonderful things to do, right? If you have girls, my daughter plays lacrosse, she plays softball, go watch the kids play softball. Bishop O'Connell they send kids off to Division I college programs all the time. It's fantastic. These girls are incredible. So take some creativity. Anybody else? I'm always looking for free things to do. So someone chime in right now if you can.
Go to the zoo.
Yeah. Big Hill.
Yeah, go to museums, play board games. There's a lot of things to do in our area that's free, that people pay a lot of money to do.
Absolutely.
You know, people that are far away, they travel here, spend thousands of dollars on hotels and airplanes to just go see the museums we have here for free. So, you know, it's something we can do.
Yeah. Just walking around down in the mall, I feel like it just makes you feel better by the time you get home, even if you're a little hungry.
I think you could also pack your lunch. Sometimes you can pay for the place you go in if they allow you to bring your lunch. I think people go to places and end up spending money on food, and a bottle of water is 150, 3 kids, do the math before you realize you 15, $20 in. So just pack your lunch and
Yeah,
plan
they
for
don't need
dinner.
they don't need the thing that glows, and they don't need that stuff. It's just gonna end up in the trash the next week. So I turn it into a game. I try to find fun, free stuff to do. There's tons of it. We're very lucky to live where we live because there's a whole bunch of free stuff around us. Go to the basketball, play family basketball. I don't know, whatever it is, there's so many different things you can do. I feel like whenever we do those free fun things, we have more fun than we would have ever imagined. And then rainy day fund here. Set aside money just in case something happens, right? If that tree branch hit my kid and broke his arm, I'd be in the hospital right now. That would cost who knows how much. So stuff always happens. But also save money for fun things too. You don't always have to watch free sports. If it's something you really enjoy, save up and go to a professional game. You might find yourself you like the high school better. So I love this part because this is like tricking yourself into saving money. Does anybody want to volunteer sort of a strategy they use to save money?
Go ahead.
If I go out to dinner and it's not on my budget, then I have to save the same amount that I've spent on dinner.
I like that. I love
So
it.
what I do, this is going, every change is in my purse, or every purchase I have a little piggy bank, and I put all my change in there and then take it to the bank and put in deposit.
Yep. Brilliant. Brilliant.
It's like, I don't care if it's whatever change I find was in my purse, because I'm always doing something. I put all that, and I'm up to $100 right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Just by saving pennies.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful. Yes, absolutely. You can go get yourself an amazing dinner. You can do all kinds of things with that now. Edgar, yes.
This is more of a question
Yes.
than it. Recently I was talking with a friend, and he mentioned the 50-30-20 rule for saving, and I just wanted to ask anyone have used that method or have followed that, and how. So the 50-30-20, according to what he said, is like 50 goes towards like your needs, 50%, and 30 goes towards like your wants, and 20 towards your finances. So just, I don't know if I got it right, but I think that's what he told me. So anyone have experience with using that method, or just?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I used
go
to,
ahead,
before this job, I used to work for DC, and I used to do the 20% rule when trying to do, if you have any kind of deferred comp or anything where savings can be pulled out, even if it's a regular savings account, and try to have it taken out of my check so I wouldn't see it, so that it would automatically be saved. And then calculate, housing expenses and everything so that it wouldn't exceed that 50%.
Okay.
Brilliant. Just get it out of your hands. I'm a goldfish, right? I eat everything that's in the bowl. But the goldfish can live on a heck of a lot less, right? So if I get it out of if I don't even see it, so the first suggestion here, this thrice is nice. 3 bank accounts, 2 checking, 1 savings. You can really do 1 checking, 1 savings. Paycheck goes in, immediately get as much as you can out of it into your savings account, and treat the savings account as a one-way street. Now, I realize emergencies come up, absolutely, but there's just something psychological about who volunteered the suggestion about putting the change into a jar?
That's Ms. Gwen.
Ms. Gwen, that was brilliant. Do you find yourself ever going into the jar to use it, or do you? Once I start saving money, I'm like, I can't touch it. I'll eat peanuts for the next 3 days or something if I have to. But is your plan to save it one day, or to spend it one day, or just continue to save it for some strange reason? We'll come back to you.
Oh, no, I don't go in. I don't go in it at all. Hello?
Yeah, something. Yep. Something, something funny happens when we save money. It's like we never want to touch it. But if it's in our wallet, it's much more likely to spend it. I don't know why that is. So one strategy is the thrice as nice. 2 or 3 bank accounts, 2 checking, 1 saving. Oh, we're picking up some background
Yeah, I
noise
don't
again,
go
I think.
through. I don't go in it at all. I put a hat over it so I won't even see it.
That's beautiful. That's brilliant. Excellent.
Because I never know when it's going to be one of them stormy days that I have nothing to eat and I'm by myself. So I try to keep that limited. And then once I empty it, I take it to the bank and then try to restart over.
Brilliant. No, that's excellent. That's excellent. All these little things, you kind of have to know yourself. The envelope system, I love. You can do the envelope system with bank accounts, but instead of even just having one, maybe a few different ones. You can have a vacation fund, a go out to eat fund, whatever it is. And every time, put a dime here, put a nickel here, et cetera, whatever it is, multiple different envelopes to put money into. Just little mental tricks. And then the third and final is grab your bank and credit card statements, look over it and say, hey, do I really need this, right? Subscriptions cost a lot of money. See what you might be able to cut out. Now, I realize there have been times in my life where I haven't been able to cut out anything. So I'm very aware of that. Sometimes you can, but for the times you can, try to cut out the wasteful spending. So we'll go through this, and it's like the key to what is the key to successful saving? I'm not exactly sure, but one phrase is start now. The best time to have started saving was yesterday. The second best time is now, right? So if you haven't, that's okay. If you're able to, the sooner the better. This is really interesting here. Let's say you purchase a TV on credit for $1,000. If you made only the minimum payment based on 3% of the outstanding loan balance, which is typical for a credit card, and your credit card loan charge or your credit card charges 18% interest rate, which is pretty common. It would take 8 years to pay off that $1,000 television, and you'd pay an extra $684 in interest. So in 8 years, you'd have finally paid off this $1,000 TV would have been $1,600, almost $1,700, and you'd have a 10-year-old TV. So debt and borrowing money is so expensive. Just try to live without it. And this is a good question. What should you save for? Emergencies, retirement, college, wants. There's all kinds of ways to spend your money. Absolutely. Way too many of them. But I think those are kind of the 3 main long-term savings goals. So we were talking about this earlier, embracing a frugal lifestyle. Remember, just because someone has something new and shiny doesn't mean they own it. Their credit card might own it. So just remind yourself of that. My oldest, I used to have this old Honda Accord, right? Like the paint. If you saw me on the road, you'd probably like lock your doors when you got next to me. I mean, it was like 15 years old. We lived in Arlington, where people drive nice cars and have nice money. And he was so embarrassed. Anytime we'd go anywhere, he was like, "Oh my God, don't pull up out front," because the car was old, things were falling off of it, and it was just like to me that didn't bother me, but I get how it can bother you. But it helped us, start to pay for college. It helped start to afford a mortgage, right? We couldn't afford to live in the house we live in now because I was driving that crummy Honda Accord around 15 years ago or whatever it was, and now we kind of lucked into a good spot. So those things will happen too. Frugal lifestyle. Coffee is always the one that always comes up, how expensive it is. Be smart about buying groceries. I've recently started doing this. Actually, a few years ago, we started doing this. Instead of going to the grocery store every day when I needed something, I go once on the weekend, go everything I need. Does anybody go to Aldi, by the way?
I go to Aldi.
I'll see you guys all there. That place is the best. you get so much food. It's actually pretty good food too. I mean, it's fresh. The produce is good. The meats are good. The breads are okay, but they're fine. It's shocking how much money you save at Aldi. The little pork, you get the pork, the slow cooker things, and you throw some buns on it. Everybody's happy. I love Aldi. What about anyone else have any good grocery store hacks?
Well, there's always that one, don't go hungry.
What's that?
Don't go to the grocery store hungry.
Absolutely.
Eat before you go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I get caught with that one all the time.
I went today and I bought 2 things of ice cream I did not need.
Yes. Yes.
Me too. I find myself buying ice cream
Mhm.
and little jumps and knowing that I don't need it, but I buy them now.
Those little end caps, you buy one, you get
I was gonna
one.
say,
Yeah.
they said stay away from the end caps.
Yeah.
Like,
Or the aisles that you don't need to go down, don't go down them.
Yeah,
Right?
just the
Always
edges, right?
Jump into your cart then.
I don't
Yes.
need 2 bags of chips, but if I buy one, I get 2.
right.
So
Chips
maybe
are
I
good
do
now.
need them.
It's been a huge advancements in chip technology over the last 20 years or so, because the jalapeno chips they make now are delicious. So every once in a while.
Yes, they are. And it's always tempting. Buy one, get one free. Always tempting.
Absolutely.
And the Oreo cookies. Oh my goodness.
Go with the list. Go with the prepared list. And stick with the
I love this one right here. Resist the urge to upgrade, because don't buy if it's not broke. Don't fix it. Just keep run it into the ground. I guess is really good advice. There are so many different free cycle things right now, right? People always I want to get rid of things, but then there are times I really want stuff. So look at Nextdoor, Craigslist. They have all these sort of free cycling. They're excellent. I think Patty was talking about those. Was that you talking about them the other day?
Yeah, I think there's Facebook groups like Buy Nothing, Arlington. So just look into that. There's different Buy Nothing groups on Facebook.
Yeah, it's better, less waste. It's
Mhm.
fantastic. Limit nights in the town, they get expensive. I mean, you have to have fun. We don't want everybody living like a monk. But try to find, instead of going to a Wizards game, go to a Wakefield game. They're infinitely better atmosphere. I mean, it's just so much better. Local theater productions. These kids that do the plays. My nephew was in some play for HP. It was fantastic. I mean, really, it was excellent. I think it was $5 to get in or something like that. This I love. I love this. This is the power of compounding interest. So it essentially, let's say you're 50 years old and you put away $10 per week until you're 65. You would have this number right here, this $11,504. Now, if you put away $25, you would have $28,000. If you put away $50 a week, which I realize is difficult, you'd have $57,522 when you turn 65. And if you put away $100, you'd have $115,000. Now, look at what happens though if you start when you're 20. If you put away $10 per week from age 20 to 65, you'll have $85,000. Look what happens if you put away $25,000. So, I'm starting to get to the age where this isn't possible anymore. We're talking more here, right? But impress this upon your kids, that the power of compounding interest. Show them this table and just look what happens. If you can live like a college kid for as long as you possibly can, if you put away $100 every week, starting at age 20, you'll have $851,000 in your account. So it's really a very powerful illustration right there. And at $20, I couldn't put away $10 a week, so I'll leave it at that.
Brad, and when you say put away, where are you talking about the stock market? Where do you put it?
Great question. Where to invest? So there's all kinds of different things you can do. You can put it in a savings account. Now, the thing is with the savings account, it depends on what interest rates are. So right now, interest rates are running about 1%. So if you have $100 in a savings account paying 1%, at the end of the year, you'll have $101. So that doesn't really make too much of a difference. interest rates move up and down. But yes, if you put it into, if you have an employer, ask if they have a 401, if they offer a 401k. 401ks are excellent because it's a way to skirt taxes. It's a way to prevent your investments from being taxed the same way they would if you had an investment account. So the first thing to do is ask your employer, do you offer a 401k? Many don't, but if they do, absolutely take advantage of it because you can buy stocks, right? You can purchase stocks. And if you're going to buy stocks, don't buy, I know everybody's into buying individual stocks right now and day trading. Over the long term, don't do that. You can do it with money you're willing to lose. That's perfectly fine. But just put it into like what's called a broad-based indexed fund. Essentially, you're buying a tiny little fractional share of every publicly traded company out there. So if a 401k is offered, absolutely take it. And if you can, look for a broad-based indexed fund. They're boring. They'll match the market, but you won't have, hopefully, the high ups and downs. Edgar, yes.
Is the broad base the same as the mutual funds?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I had one other question that escapes me. Okay, I'll come back to that. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and less money goes to taxes when you're doing that because it's sheltered. Your pre-tax income is eligible for the 401k. So it's not the money you get; it's the big number on your paycheck, your gross. So, let's say your paycheck is $100 a week, and you have elected to put 2% of your money into a 401k. $2 would go in, whereas we know with taxes, if your paycheck is $100 a week, taxes are only going to give you about 75. So then if you put, a percent in, you're talking a much lower number. So the pre-tax versus after tax is a big difference. It's a big benefit of the 401k. You don't have to pay as much in taxes because of it.
And the 401k is the 403b for nonprofits, right? It's the same thing.
That's correct. If you're a teacher, if you're in education, it's a 403b. And then another question to ask is if there's an employer match, because a lot of times an employer match, it's not offered as much anymore, but it never hurts to ask. If there is an employer match, take it every single time because it's free money. It means if you put aside, generally it means your employer will match to a certain extent whatever you put in. So put in, there you go, I keep using that word, sorry Patty, whatever you save, whatever you set aside, whatever you get out of your own hands before you can spend it. If your paycheck is $100 per month and you put in 5%, many times your employer will match another 5%. So five of your own dollars will go into savings, and then 5 of your employer's dollars will go into savings, and it'll all go off into your savings account. So it is literally free money. So it's very powerful. Let's see. Credit is very important because it can be very expensive to pay for a credit card. It's always the question, should you have a credit card, yes or no? You can get into a lot of trouble with credit card debt, but it helps establish a credit history. And what is a credit history? It's essentially the way banks look at someone and say, you are more or less likely to pay back the money that's owed. And it makes a big difference because if you have a low credit score, a credit score is essentially a score that the banks give you depending on whether or not they think you'll pay back what is owed. If you have a really high score, it means you'll have lower interest rates and you'll have more options for credit cards. If you have a very low score, it means your interest rate is going to be much higher and you're going to have to pay a lot more to borrow that money. And how is the score calculated? 35% is your payment history. If plain and simple, if you make your payments on time. So if you haven't been making your payments on time, I get it. But the more you're able to make your payments on time, 35%, the largest portion of your oh boy. Uh-oh. Did everybody just lose my screen?
No, I still have your screen.
All right, let's see if I can get it back. Do you still see my do you see a little pop-up Citrix Workspace on mine right now? Okay. Let's see if I can play around with it right now and try to find it. This occasionally happens. So what else? What questions do we have?
I have one question, Brad.
Absolutely.
As far as credit cards and consolidating your credit debt, like let's say you have like 3 credit cards. I know that there are some companies that will approach you, try to have you consolidate into one, try and pay it off. Is that something that you recommend? What are the pros and cons pretty much of doing something like that?
Yeah, I actually think it's a good idea to consolidate debt, right? It depends. It really depends on what the interest rate is. If your interest rate on a credit card is like 30%, or all your credit cards is 30%, try to consolidate to a card with a lower interest rate, right? Because if it's 30%, that means for every $100 you owe, you're going to be paying $30 a year just to really service that debt. It's insurmountable. I mean, it's impossible to get out from underneath that.
So for example, if the credit card company sends you one of those notifications saying you get a 0% APR for transferring your credit card balance up until, say, October 2022, you should transfer the balance from card A to card B.
If there are no balance transfer fees, yeah, I would check that first. But yeah, if you can sort of refinance that debt, if you will, to a much lower, absolutely. I would do it under the kind of the thinking of, I'm not going to just kick the can down the road. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to dutifully save my money so that in 2022, when the interest kicks in, I'm able to really make a big chunk on it and not really kind of be bound by the chains of debt, because it kind of gets pretty awful. But yes, absolutely, take advantage of them, because the credit card companies are expecting you to be lazy and then not pay it off. 2 years down the road, they'll hike it up to 30% and you're kind of back where you were. But if you're smart about it, you will have been able to really pay down a big chunk of it. Let's see if I can get this pulled up here. Hey, are we back? Do you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay.
Najee was talking about his ex.
I can see you, but not the PowerPoint.
Okay, let's see if I can just have. Let's see here. How about now? All right. Whew.
Yep, good to go.
Love it when that happens, right? Yeah, so really just the basics with credit are be really careful. It can be an insurmountable amount of debt that's very difficult to pay off. If you're in debt, it's difficult, right? Don't worry about interest rates. I just go after the debt with the highest interest rate. Like Edgar said, if you can refinance, if you can put it on a card with a lower interest rate, I would go with that. The key is not to get in debt in the first place. If you are, it's going to be a slog back. I think Jamie's suggestion of taking the 0% APR for a year, the balance transfer, do it and just do it with the mentality that you pay it off. I think you sleep a lot better at night when you've paid off the debt. Why good credit matters, right? 5%. So let's say you purchase a home for $150,000. I think we'd all like that. Finance the full amount for 30 years. With good credit, you'll have a much lower interest rate and pay less over the life of the loan. So at 5%, the difference between 5% and 8%, look how much that is. So this is somebody with really good credit who pays their bills on time and does all the things that we were talking about before. And this is 8%. Did we even go through all these? So payment history, amount owed, how long you've had your credit history, if you've opened new accounts recently is 10%, and the type of credit used, right? So some debt is better than others. Again, I'll send this to everybody. But this is the difference between 5% and 8%. Your mortgage payment can be $805 a month or $1,100 per month. Over the course of the loan, you pay $150,000 plus $139,000. So that house that was $150,000 really ends up being almost $300,000. And then look how much of a difference that is. So you pay the $150,000 plus, $246,000 in financing costs. So, yeah, right. That house is, you pay almost twice as much in financing costs as you do for the house itself.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why there's a bank on every corner. Identity theft is a really important one. Don't give out account information. Don't share personal identification, social security numbers, anything like that, credit card numbers. Be very protective of your information. Shred documents. Don't get junk mail. Go online. If you've been a victim, there are certainly resources for that. Some good tips on student loans. Yes, Edgar.
Oh, you got to it. I was going to ask you if, because all debts are not the same, is student loan debt as bad as credit card debt?
No, it's viewed as kind of good debt.
Okay.
You know, you don't want to owe like $500,000 to a defunct university or anything like that. But it's better than having, you know, like a Macy's card debt or something like that. Absolutely.
Meaning the interest rates are better as well?
A lot of times they are.
Okay.
A lot of times they're subsidized, federally subsidized, and you'll
Right.
find them to be a little bit lower. Yeah. What else do we have here? Thinking about retirement one day. That's great if you can. You know, that might be, it's still a long ways away for a lot of us, but I like this here. Go for the match. Take advantage of your employer's 401k, or as Edgar said, 403b if you're with a nonprofit or education. Especially if they offer matching funds. Contribute enough to get the full match. Like I said, it's free money. It really is. It's one of those weird things in life where it's totally free. This is a good one. I really like this. Put your security first. Don't sacrifice your future financial security to pay for your child's education. If you can do it, great, but don't feel obligated to. I really, people debate that. It's a very contentious issue, but don't work into your 90s because your child wants to go to an out-of-state school or anything like that. Be a little selfish. It's okay.
Here's a really big question.
Yes.
Or one that is kind of debatable. Saving for your retirement or saving for your kids' college?
I would say for your retirement first.
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of those things. So I'll tell you what we do is we save, sorry, I use that word too much. We save a little bit every month, what we're comfortable with doing. And hopefully in however many years, gets closer every day, but hopefully we'll be able to pay for it. If you can't, there are always loan programs. You can always borrow money so that your child can go to school. But I think my philosophy is, you know, don't go out to eat every night, right? Like don't go drinking every night and be an irresponsible parent, but also don't delay your own retirement plans for your children. I mean, they can get loans. You can get loans. You can pay as you go. You can pay it back. I think it's important to be a little selfish.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brad, could you explain a bit more about the IRA?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked. So IRA, it's a different type of, what it stands for here is individual retirement account. It's just another type of savings account. You can contribute up to $5,500 per year for an individual, $11,000 for a married couple. What's really cool is this thing called a Roth IRA. Now, not a whole lot, some employers offer them. But a Roth IRA is nice because of the tax shelter feature of it. Essentially, let's say I have $20,000 in a 401k and I'm 65 and I'm retired. When I take that money out, it is taxed as income. So I have to pay taxes on it. The nice thing about a Roth IRA, when I take those funds out, let's say I have $20,000 and I take $20,000 out, 100% of that is mine. It is not taxed when you take it out. So you save a ton of money by opening a Roth IRA. Their contribution limit's $5,500 a year, which I think is great. So if you're eligible, some people do part 401k, part Roth IRA. Both are really good. The more you can set aside and save and invest, the better. It's just different ways.
I have a question.
Yes.
So say for example, you have a job, a previous employer where you had a 401k at, and you're now currently working someplace else. Would it be better to take that old 401k and roll over into your new employer, or open a IRA account?
Great question. The answer is it depends. My thought process would be, is the old, because I did this once, right? And I was working for company A and I went to work for company B. I'll do that so it's on camera. Company B had, the company I went to, their plan was not as good as company A. So I kept it in company A. And when I say not as good, I mean it had lower fees. So company A had a better plan. I kept my money there. For the most part though, just the simplicity is I like to just roll it over, keep it in one bunch. It's just a lot easier mentally for me rather than having different accounts all over here with varying amounts of money. I like to roll it over into another 401k, and you use the right term. I mean, that was excellent, rollover. Because what a lot of people do is they take the money out of the 401k. When you do that, you're going to take a huge tax hit. You have to pay a penalty on it. So, the $10,000 you had in it is now only $8,000, and there's no tax shelter on it anymore. So it's just going to keep getting taxed year in, year out. So the best thing, yes, what you said, the rollover, absolutely. I would just roll it over into the new plan, and then you just have one big glob of savings that kind of follows you through life.
So rollovers don't cost fees, right?
No.
Okay.
And they keep them kind of taxed. They keep the tax shelter going too. You might pay a very minimal fee. I mean, it might be like a $20 transfer fee or something like that, but no fees. They want your money. They're just happy to have your money. That was a great question. What else?
Thank you.
Oh, this is a good one. Teaching your children about money, different things you can do at different ages. And then here's some additional resources. So this is really, I encourage everybody to hang on to this because there's really a ton of information. There's savings calculators, all kinds of neat stuff you can do. And again, the key point of today is not everything we covered applies to each of us right now today, but it might at some point in time. So it's good to have at least a little conceptual understanding of what it is and just really how powerful it can be. Right? We went to, where was it? Yeah, like this, money grows. And it's really I think Einstein called compounding interest one of the most powerful forces in the universe or something like that, because it really is a snowball effect. All right, 3 minutes. Any questions?
I do have a tip.
Yes.
They're all kind of, what do you call it? Saving accounts. Like I use, it's called Digit, digit.co. But what it does is it pulls from your bank account, and it just pulls various amounts. Like it won't overdraft you, but it'll pull according to how you spend, and it'll put into a separate account that you don't, like I always forget about it, and it just accumulates over time. But it's different ones. Digit, there's Acorn.
Oh, Acorn.
but I've been very successful in that because I forget about it.
Yeah.
It's not like having a savings account that you know is there, like you totally forget about it and it just keeps pulling the money.
Yeah. A few coins here and there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like the couch cushions on steroids.
Yep. Yes. Yes.
That's great. Well, that's pretty much it for me. I'll get this sent over and yeah. Thank you. I know it's a beautiful night out. I feel bad for keeping everybody inside, but thanks.
Well, thank you.
Hey,
Brad.
sorry if
Thank
you
you,
don't
Brad.
mind.
Thank you.
I have before we sign out, I have a
Well, I don't have ADHD.
can someone mute for me? Before we sign out, I have one job resource to share. Let's see. Brad, I'm going to stop your video for a second.
Here we go.
Let's see. Can you all see my screen? How about now?
Nah, I see you.
How about now?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So AHC. Miss Gwen, can you mute for me, please, Miss Gwen? So AHC has a partnership with Bridges, and this is a page where they advertise job openings. I'm going to send this link to everyone, but when you get to their page, usually look in announcements, and then also look in the employment services, and they have a bunch of jobs that are open right now. I also wanted to point out one other person that can help you. You can make an appointment with him. I'm trying to find their employee. Yeah, so this man over here on the bottom, let's see, this guy over here, Lee Morris III. He is the employment services manager. He does one-on-one meetings. You can set it up in person or virtually. And he actually meets on Wednesdays at the Macedonia. They have an office in the Macedonian. So I know that we have these workshops that we're doing, and the idea is at the end, we'll see what opportunities are out there. But as I see opportunities out there right now, I just want to share those with you. So Bridges is one place. If you're looking right now, you can just go to the website. I'll send the link out. And finally, I wanted to say that thanks everyone for joining. For the next 2 workshops, I am going to do gift cards for people that get here early. I'll start from this one actually. So Yolanda will get the Starbucks gift card for this week. And I'm going to be giving out 2 more for the next workshop. So please try to get here early. If you have problems logging on, again, you want to buffer 15, 20 minutes, you can reach out to me by phone, by email, I can help you. But do try to get here on time because we want to respect your time as well. We start early, we end early. All right, thank you all for joining. Any other, Laura?
Thank you.
Well, I'm wondering, there is Ayub, I think that's how you say your name, has some questions. I don't know if everybody wants to take the time to listen or if Brad has time to take one more question. So, okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ayub.
Thank you.
I'm going to sign off. Thanks.
Yeah, I just people that need to sign off.
Back to the credit thing. I was wondering, what do you think of credit repair companies? Like, I just bought a car recently. My credit is not so good, and I have a lot of hard inquiries, and I was thinking of getting a credit repair company to dispute all of them at once and getting my credit up, and then saving the money on the long run. You know, paying for it short term to save money on the long run. I just want to know what you think about that.
I check the reviews, you know, I'm sure there are some that are excellent, you know, but I'm sure there's some that are unscrupulous too. I'd start by getting a credit report, right? They can give you an actual credit report. And a lot of times they'll tell you, you can get a free credit report from one of the 3 major credit reporting agencies, Experience, TransUnion, and I forget what the other one's called. I'm totally drawing a blank right now. Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the presentation though, where you can.
Equifax.
Equifax. There you go. There you go. Good pull. And they'll tell you what your credit score is, and they'll tell you why it is what it is a lot of times too. So I bet you could do a lot of it yourself for free.
And another
And
thing
credit
that I
cards.
heard is that Virginia Cooperative Extension, and Edgar can maybe help me track this down, but I think that they're offering free one-on-one financial counseling for people for their credit history. And so that might be something that Edgar can hook you up with.
Sorry, can you repeat? Then what's that? What's the name of it again?
The Virginia Cooperative Extension does some financial counseling. And right now during COVID, they're doing some one-on-one financial counseling. So there was someone I was working with that was going to be able to work on her credit history with somebody one-on-one, somebody who's an expert in that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Laura, that's Aisha's company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Ayuba, I'll follow up with you on that, okay? I'll send you a link to that.
Thanks, Edgar.
Thank you all for joining.
Yeah, thank you all so much. That was great. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you. Thank you for the
See you guys next Tuesday.
Night,
See you
everybody.
next week.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Y'all have a wonderful night.
You too.
Bye, guys. Uh-huh.
All right. Bye, Miss Gwen.